when you think a task is hard, it actually becomes hard. But when you settle in your mind that it's easy, it becomes easy. So that's power of thought. There is no overnight success. Okay? Success that appears overnight today has taken time. Clarity of vision is very important to attaining your goals, your aspirations, because in life you'll encounter several circumstances, several experiences will come your way. It's your ability to see those challenges and pretty much just deduce what it's teaching you per time that would help you wade through them. Our thoughts shape our lives. So you must embrace a positive mindset. You must also embrace a growth mindset.
Hello everyone, welcome to Stories and Journeys, where we explore the transformative power of learning, growth, and resilience. Join us as we uncover untold narratives and ignite curiosity. My name is Oluwatimileyin Oyedeji, and joining us here today is a renowned marketing practitioner across the African continent. She currently sits as a director, marketing and corporate communications at BUA Foods. She's no other person than the quintessential Adewunmi Desalu. Hi, Adewunmi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Really look forward to learning from you.
I look forward to sharing.
Yeah, I mean, looking at your journey, which I think is quite interesting one. Back in 2009, for example, you're taking a leap, after finishing school at LASO, serving and all of those things. You started with Intercellular and then moved to work with Insights Communications. And then you moved from there to work with Firehouse Group and then went back to Insight Communications, doing some amazing job there, and then you moved on again from there, to work in a couple of other places, worked with Life Sport 360, for example. Then you went back to Insight Communication as a director, and now you're currently doing some amazing stuff with BUA Foods as the director of marketing and corporate communications. How's that journey been like for you?
All right, thank you very much to me.
Thank you.
It's been an interesting journey, I must say. I started back in 2004, not 2009.
My bad.
No, that's fine. But then I graduated school 2004. Studied biochemistry, and that was, I'm so grateful to my dad for that. It was my guidance counselor at the time. Studied biochemistry, but it didn't take me too long to realize that I wasn't really cut out for it. And the dilemma then became, what next? Especially when I looked at the prospect post-graduation, it wasn't adding up. When you look at the Nigerian situation and what was I going to do with biochemistry? So that got me really thinking. And to be honest, I didn't know what next. But I learned early to have clarity of vision and know exactly what you want. So while I didn't know what career to transition into, I was very clear on the things I needed my job to deliver on. All right? Yeah. First and foremost was the fact that I wanted a job I would enjoy doing, a career I would enjoy doing. And that stemmed from seeing friends, people who had graduated before me, having jobs they weren't enjoying. They were pretty much miserable. I didn't want to be that person, so it was clear to me that I needed to enjoy what I was doing. Secondly, it was I wanted a career that would give me the avenue and the chance to meet people. Okay. A career that would entail traveling, because I love traveling. Also, a career that was relevant across different sectors and industries. So because I didn't want to be locked to a particular industry. So that was the much I knew. And armed with that, I pretty much just launched out. Launched out and got my first marketing role at Inside Communications. Then I just returned from youth service, and back then the only way to know about job openings to a very large extent was by flipping through the pages. Thank God for this era we live in right now, where it's a lot easier to access such information. But until flipping through newspapers, I come back from youth service with sort of savings, thinking, okay, I'm on the balls. And then I realized that to access the newspapers, I was going to have to spend on a daily basis to buy newspapers. And I just knew I wasn't going to be able to sustain it. And while I thought and pondered on it, it crossed my mind that I could actually access newspapers at a library that was close to where I resided at the time. To be honest, I'd never been to that library, so I didn't know if they stocked newspapers or whatever, but I gave it a shot. And lo and behold, I realized that they actually stock newspapers on a daily basis. So that was like some answers to my yearnings. So I went there on a daily, flipped through, and of course several applications, and I stumbled on a particular one for a traineeship program at Inside Communications at the time, now Inside Purposeful. It being a creative agency, it was very compelling and exciting, the way it was done up, the art direction, the copywriting. I was already excited, at the prospect of working in such an organization. And fast forward months afterwards, out of about 5,000 applicants at the time, I was one of the lucky 10 that clinched the role. And I'm eternally grateful for that experience because it formed the foundation for what I've become today, in the marketing space. So it's been a very interesting journey, I must say.
That's beautiful. Really, really beautiful. So I want to double click on something you said earlier, which is clarity, vision. How did that come about?
Okay, so I learned early that thoughts shape our lives, basically. And it's important to have clarity or vision, knowing exactly what you want and what you don't want. And that way you're able to, as you journey through life and encounter different circumstances and experiences, able to eliminate what doesn't look like that big picture you see and embrace the things that look like where you want to get to, the desired destination. So it's important to have clarity of vision, and a lot of it emanates from your thoughts. I told you about how I sat, was thinking about how I was going to cross the hurdle of getting newspapers on a basis. And the thoughts came through. Do you get? So thoughts are powerful. So it's very important to have clarity of vision.
I find that very interesting because thoughts, like you said, shape our lives. What would you say, triggered, or how would you say you came about that reality that thoughts indeed are powerful? I imagine that you were maybe in your mid-20s at the time after school, maybe your early 20s at the time.
It was my teens.
Interesting. So how were you able to come about that level of thinking?
Okay, so it's all about association. Okay, the association you keep is very important. An association isn't always driven by physical, associations. It could be the type you garner from, you learn from people in different ways. You associate with people through different means. And sometimes there is that proximity that helps it and enables it be a physical association. Whereas sometimes it's a remote association. But I think one of the things that helped me to have that level of thinking at such an early age was just the desire and the willingness to learn from others. Because yes, there's a place for learning from my experiences, but so many people have gone ahead of me. It only makes sense for me to tap into the wealth of knowledge and, learn from them. So, yeah, associations, I was able to very quickly grasp the importance of that and begin to learn from people through books, reading books, listening to people, through webinars, in whatever shape or form, just learning off people. And I think beyond what people say is also the realities of you experience and encounter when you practicalize those things. Because I then found that even in my life, if I was entertaining negative thoughts, the propensity for it to come through was pretty much high. So I had hands-on experience. I always say to my children, when you think a task is hard, it actually becomes hard. But when you settle in your mind that it's easy, it becomes easy. So that's power of thought. So yeah, it's pretty much that. That's how I came about that knowledge early enough. Associations with the right people.
I think that's beautiful. Looking at your journey as well, I think it's quite interesting, because at every turn it seemed like you went back to the insights. Why was it that way? Or was it intentional?
It wasn't. It wasn't in my plans at all. Okay. On the 2 occasions I went back to Insight Communications, it was driven by bosses I had previously worked with asking me to come back to support them in actualizing an objective that had been delivered to them. That was the only reason why. Every time I left Insight, I thought I was done with that institution. Only for, my ex-bosses to just call me up and say, look, I have this project, I have this deliverable, I have these goals, organizational objectives, and I think I want you as part of my team in executing and achieving those goals. That really was it.
Interesting.
On both occasions.
Interesting.
So yeah.
In retrospect, do you think it sort of helped shape you as a person career-wise?
What exactly now?
Going back there,
Yeah.
doing you, do you think sort of added up when you think about it in retrospect?
Oh, yes. I'm a firm believer that everything works together to mold us into the person we've been designed to be.
Okay.
And mark my words, and the person we choose to be. Because it's one thing for you to be designed to become something. It's another thing for you to embrace it and be willing and choose to toe that line. So it did help. It did help shape me, even from the very, very beginning when I clinched the management traineeship role. I think it was a very solid foundation that led to tremendous growth, because the good thing about working at Insight Publicis is it exposes you to a wealth of knowledge. It exposes you to working with global brands, a multitude of brands.
Across sectors?
Across sectors. That I was going there. That was exactly where I was going to land. Across sectors. So that's the beauty of working in a place like that. So I would say indeed it helped form my core, give me a solid foundation. And every time I went back, it was me going back to utilize the knowledge I had learned at a different level. Did you get at a higher level per time? And it then pretty much refined me and formed me and transformed me, I'll say, into the person I've become today. So yeah, every encounter, every journey, every experience we we go through in life adds up
Hmm.
to becoming or to helping you become that person you have been designed to be and that you embrace and choose to be. Very important.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Because honestly, if someone you had worked with before, reaches out to you and say, come work with me on XYZ thing, I think it strongly speaks to capacity. I believe that the bosses must have seen that you're capable. They must have seen that you are going to add value, to what they're trying to do, and that must have led to the invitation. So I also want to check in with you and say, looking at your journey and currently what you do with BUA Foods and the fantastic stuff you're doing across, flour product, rice product, edible oils, and all of those portfolio. What would you say are those core values, or ethics, that you had sort of built your life around, and it's shaping you to shatter the ceilings now?
Okay. So my mom's called me CEO for the longest time.
Whoa.
Yeah. Ever since I was an intern, my mom, she calls me CEO. Why? Because she sees the length I go to delivering on my job. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
There were times when even as an intern, I'll come home, I had deliverables, and I'm working overnight as an intern to make sure that I deliver. It used to get her wondering, what's up with you? Are you the owner of here? What? Why are you working yourself out this way? But I guess she didn't understand that, it was underpinned by values. I am very big on adding value, transforming what's been placed in my hands and making it better. I'm big on actualizing the vision of whoever has put me in a certain role. Do you get?
Yeah.
I'm big on actualizing organizational values and objectives. Because by so doing, I think I'm adding my flavor to that environment, to life. And it's fulfilling. So that compels me. So she calls me CEO. And maybe, I believe I will receive it one day, because every time a new role comes up and I keep remembering my mom's, CEO, I'm like, oh, am I heading? Or it's values such as dedication to work that has helped me. Values such as hard work.
Okay.
Values, one of the very strongest one is, so here in Nigeria, we're very religious.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not a religious person. I lock up. I'm not religious.
You're more spiritual.
Pardon?
You're more spiritual than religious.
Yeah, than religious. But there was something I learned early from my mentor. And he said that you should do your work as unto God. So that got me thinking, do my work as unto God. What does that really mean? Now, because, we're a religious set of people, and then the way we've perceived God, we revere God, we hold him in high esteem. So do your work as unto God means you're doing your work as unto someone you hold in high esteem. And that means that you'd want to please the person. You'd want to go the extra mile for that person. That has been the number one value that's driven me over time. Because my employer may not be in the room, my boss may not be in the room, right? But I have this deep sense of wanting to ensure that I'm doing my job as though they were God. So that helps me not to settle for mediocre.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Correct. Yeah.
So dedication, hard work, doing your work as unto God. And I just say that a general sense of choosing to be responsible, accountable, when as I said earlier, I'm the kind of person who likes to make things better. I don't want to live it the same way.
Yeah.
You know, so all those things put together drive me, drive me all the time.
Beautiful. I think that's quite profound, you know, in terms of those values. I also like the fact that it is strong, it's deep, you know, it comes from a place of self-awareness as well, you know, but I am so cognizant of the fact that there's hard work that goes into that.
Oh yeah, I must have mentioned. Did I mention hard?
You mentioned dedication and hard work.
Dedication, hard work. Yeah, of course. A lot of work.
I'm going somewhere with that. So, were there days, you know, that you felt like, man, I can't do this anymore? This is just too much. You know, the challenges are just too much. You know, or say for example, you know, when you got to the life phase or maybe childbearing or whatever it is, you know, at that time, were there stages in life, you know, that you felt like trying to travel? And how were you able to manage such, you know, moments or occasions?
Can I be real with you?
Please.
I don't think I've gotten to that phase yet.
Beautiful. Okay. Why?
There have been hurdles.
Okay.
I acknowledge that. There have been challenges along the path to where I am today. So I'm not going to say there haven't. But I don't think I've gotten to a stage where I feel like I want to throw in the towel. Why? Because recall I mentioned the importance of doing what you love.
Yes.
I identified early that if I was going to be successful in career, then it had better be something I enjoy doing. Otherwise, I'm going to get tired. I'm going to want to throw in the towel. I'm going to want to give up my dream. So that was why it was pretty important to me that I get something or find myself in a career that I enjoy. So I think that's helped.
Okay.
Also critical is putting in place a support system.
Okay.
A support system that helps you with regards to advice, that also helps you get things done. That's absolutely critical. You know, so I think with the right support system, and unfortunately not too many people have that, with the right support system, I've been able to soar and do the things that make me happy, do the things that I've dreamt of and still dream of. You know, so that's very important. Having the right support system and embracing a career that you enjoy doing, more like that you're designed for. You know, by making temperament and, you know, in all ways that is suited for you. I think those are the things that will keep you going when you encounter challenges, and you sure will encounter challenges. It's not going to be a smooth ride. Never.
Insightful. Very insightful. I want to dial back a little bit. What was growing up like for you as a person?
Growing up was interesting.
Okay.
I grew up in a very close-knit family where you were given the freedom to actualize your dreams, to pursue the things that you find interesting. You know, and I think that really did help. I also grew up around a disciplinarian, so I guess maybe that was okay. My mom was a teacher, and but disciplinarian, very strict. My dad was the opposite, so yeah, there was balance. But I think that helped. It did. I mean, today she's all chilled out now. Maybe because we're grown up, maybe she just realized that, life isn't that hard. So I think it helped. It helped to have that balance, you know. So I grew up with amazing parents who were very, extremely supportive. And my parents were there for me. They still are, but they were there for me, you know. And I have amazing siblings as well. that have been a huge part of my success story in one way or the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, growing up was interesting. It was fun, and I was exposed to that balance of, discipline and,
So you never partied? You never...
I went for parties. Okay, I went for parties as a young child. I mean, my parents are, Lagosians. So you can imagine. So yeah, partying was not a problem. We went for parties. My parents loved partying. My mom was Ijebu, my dad's Lagosian. So yeah, partying was part of growing up, definitely. And more so when you clock 18, it was almost like it was partying to another level. We knew from an early age that look, once you clock 18, you're on your own, and you can do and undo. But so we did party. Yeah, my parents were also inclined to such. Yeah, it was good bands.
Nice. So growing up and looking at what you do now, right? Marketing, for example, and at some point in your career to do something around, client relationships, trying to understand consumers, and that plays a very huge role, in what you do now as director, when it comes to marketing and corporate communications. What role would you say data plays, in ensuring that businesses or brands are able to communicate, with the right set of audience while driving relevance, and ensuring that they remain, as original, and as profitable as possible?
Good question. One of the brands we know would say data is life. And it is indeed life. It is. And there are different sources of data. Be it primary data, secondary data. But I think what's important is your ability to mine it correctly. Yeah. So derive the right insights. Or more importantly is your ability to translate those insights into meaningful solutions for the brands you manage. And that comes with, beyond the science involved in data analysis and all that, is the art side of things, the creativity you can bring to the table with regards to, the data you've got. And while data is life, you also need to be mindful that there must be a balance in art. So, so sometimes you have, there's a wealth of primary data that we've got as brands that can propel us and our brands to the desired destination. But then there's a place for secondary data as well. Well, you need to balance both, because your secondary data may not necessarily be as accurate as possible. It's very to mix that up with your experience of your environment, your knowledge of your environment, and come out with, a solution that is tailored for the problem or challenge you're having per time for your brand. So, you need to just be able to create that balance in art between amongst all the sources of data you've got at your disposal.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. Looking at what you do currently, right? You work with a global business, and you touch lives, on a daily basis. What role does corporate communication, for example, play in such a big business?
Okay. So corporate comms, as you well know, is all about reputation building, right? Shaping the image of the brand. So, yes, we're doing quite a lot of things, but if you do not put it out there, and then the propensity or the tendency for it to go unnoticed is pretty much high. So it's all about the creative way of going about storytelling, telling stories in a very beautiful way, in a compelling way. Of course, one that's true to the brand and what it's doing. So corporate communications definitely plays a huge role in helping BUA Foods tell its stories, and shape its image out there amongst its publics. So basically,
Interesting because the amazing stuff you guys are doing, even from a CSR standpoint as well, impacting lives, for a 22-year-old, boy or girl, out there watching this right now, looking to build a career, looking to be like you, what would be your advice, to such persons?
first things first is, I go back to what I said earlier. Our thoughts shape our lives. So you must embrace a positive mindset. Okay? You must also embrace a growth mindset, because life is not a bed of roses. You will encounter challenges along the way, right? It's your ability to see those challenges and pretty much just deduce what it's teaching you per time that would help you wade through them. So you must have a growth mindset and see challenges as an avenue to learn. You go down and become a better you. I would say also that seek knowledge. That's so crucial. Seek knowledge. Formally, informally, learn from people. You can't give what you don't have. So you must be knowledgeable if you want to become that person you've envisioned yourself to be or you dreamed of. So you must be very knowledgeable. So seek knowledge. And, there's a common mistake I see around these days, which is a lot of employees relying on their employers to help them garner knowledge. There's a place for that through trainings. But you must be the one driving your training agenda. You must be the one actively, whether or not your organization is sponsoring you, seek knowledge. Be big on knowledge gathering. Pay for it. Because if you value it that much, you part with your resources to obtain it. You also invest in knowledge. That's super important for a 22-year-old or a young person watching this right now. And develop resilience, staying power. In recent times, I've spoken to young people who are just starting out, career starters. And there was one common thing that ran through a lot of conversations I had with them. And it was how they just easily gave up on opportunities. So some would say, look, I was working at this institution, they didn't value me. Okay. And so I left. Okay. Left for what? Nothing. But now, so a lot of people don't have staying power. They lack resilience. You must be resilient. As I said earlier, every encounter is teaching you something. So there are times when we go through pretty rough patches in terms of work now. There's some environments that can be very toxic, that can be difficult to work in. But the honest truth is they're teaching you something. So whilst you're there, take what you need to do, take from there and move on to the next thing. So people give up on their dreams at the expense of so many more important things. Give up so easily. So you must develop staying power, because it can be tough. The business climb can be tough. There'll be challenges, no doubt. So staying power. Additionally, I would say that as a young person, know what you want.
Okay.
Know what you want. I think it's very important to do so, because it helps you with elimination along the way. Okay? you will come across different opportunities. And because you're clear, I spoke about clarity of vision earlier, you're clear on exactly what you want, where you're going to, you have a vision board. When you see what doesn't look like an opportunity that will get you to your desired destination, it's very easy for you to eliminate it. And it also makes it easy for you to embrace what you need to get to the next level. Hard work. Okay? Today's World Mental Health Day, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this new generation that blames everything on mental health. And that's valid. That's very valid.
Yeah.
But then I think I touched on it when I said you need to develop staying. You need to be resilient, right? And pursue your dreams. Give it everything it takes. But very importantly is grow in knowledge. Because people are looking for value adders. People that add value.
Value others.
Yes, so you need to be that person of value. And it comes from a place of knowledge. So I mean that would be my advice to people out there listening to this who are just starting out.
I think that's quite rich, for anyone that is willing to actually grow, like you said, those vital pillars, that you mentioned is critical for people to be able to build on. Looking at almost 2 decades, of experience, working in the space, are there challenges that you see across the continent, when it comes to marketing, corporate comms, and what solution do you think could come in to fix them in the short to long term?
Yeah, I mean there are various challenges. They are long-standing challenges that have been with us for a while, and will not necessarily go away overnight. They won't necessarily resolve overnight. With time, yes. Challenges such as how we have to grapple with local cultural nuances with regards to execution of the big ideas we come up with as marketing professionals and having to localize them. There are also challenges, around our ability to accurately segment the market. Yeah, those are real challenges out there, and I don't want to dwell on them because, as I said, they're long-standing challenges and things are evolving. It will get better with time. But there's one challenge I think isn't getting enough, in terms of being spoken about. It's the brain drain. That really worries me. It's the brain drain, and I know it's not peculiar to the marketing, the sector, or the marketing industry. It's something we are feeling across industry sectors in Nigeria, but the brain drain is real.
True.
If not addressed now, I'm concerned about the future of the marketing profession, because what you have now is the upcoming ones are not exactly as well-rounded as they should be to deliver on marketing objectives and indeed business objectives. And as the old pave way and give room to the young, that gap would become increasingly apparent as time goes by.
Standards will drop.
And the profession will become...
It's a very sad one, actually.
It is, and it's a very critical one. And I believe that intervention programs such as what I came from, which is management traineeship programs in different companies, should be sustained. It should be, because it's almost like succession
planning.
You're taking from your wealth of experience and pouring into others for future use. So I know organizations do have those programs, but increasingly I think they're on the decline, it needs to be sustained. That's a very good measure to closing that gap, so that when the future comes upon us, we'll still have seasoned marketers and run that can help businesses grow profitably.
Awesome. I mean, that's superb, because it's a big problem.
It is.
It's a big problem, and I think your solution is apt. In terms of management training programs, mentorship.
Yes, mentorship.
I think is just spot on, very, very spot on.
And even schools, professionals, people these days have side gigs. Professionals can establish schools and teach the skills to people hands-on, because theory is different from practical. So it's bridging that gap and closing it. It's critical for the sustenance of
apt. Thank you so much for sharing that.
market.
Thank you so much. I think that's quite profound. Thank you so much. Before we let you go, just 2 more questions.
Please.
What's your vision for Africa? From where you sit.
I see. For Africa, I would say from a marketing standpoint, I see digital transformation. I see it's going to play a huge role in how far we go as marketers. And as internet technology evolves and gets better, what will happen is that a lot more brands will embrace, beyond the traditional now, a lot of digital marketing strategies. And with more affordable smartphones,
Correct.
we're further able, and we will see a deepening of some sort of those marketing campaigns, to the grassroots, to underserved regions, So I think that is gonna, I see Africa in that light. Additionally, today there's so much buzz around AI. Wait for AR and VR, virtual reality, augmented reality. It's going to take us to an entirely new level, especially with regards to data and the way we mine it. Artificial intelligence is going to play a huge role in that, so that communication becomes a lot more personalized over time. Because consumer is becoming increasingly fragmented, their preferences are rapidly changing and all of that. So I think AI, AR, VR will play huge roles. And for VR, AR, it's all about taking immersive experiences to a whole new high as the years, come by. So I think Africa, and we've got everything it takes from a population standpoint.
Very youthful
Population. Even for Africa itself, I see in terms of my vision for Africa and beyond marketing, I see a place whereby there'll be more collaborations. So today we have intra-Africa trade agreements. They're not taking us far. But there's so much huge potential there, given the young population we've got, given the resources at our disposal. The major issue is leadership.
Correct.
So if we can fix our leadership issues and get leadership to be driven by solid governance policies, all underpinned by profound values, it all comes down to that. I see Africa transform, and then there'll be more collaboration amongst member nations that would result into more exports.
Correct.
More exports and making us more manufacturing too.
Correct.
Exports, and that will ultimately just make us less import dependent and see us adding more value to the resources, huge resources at our disposal.
Correct.
So there's huge, tremendous potential for future growth in Africa, and I'm optimistic that in my time, I'll
Fingers
see it.
crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
No, I think that's beautiful. That's very beautiful in terms of your vision for Africa. Before we let you go, just one final one. The parting shots for our audience. For anyone watching right now that is at that mid-level career, trying to transition to a senior leadership role. You being a leader yourself, what are those tenets or pillars, that qualifies or that makes a good leader in the business environment?
So I'll start by saying that there's no overnight success. Okay? Success that appears overnight today has taken time.
Yeah.
So there's no overnight success. I like to learn from the bamboo tree. Yeah, the bamboo tree, every day you plant it, takes about 4 years before you see it sprout. Or within 5 weeks actually, can go as high and as tall as 90 meters or so. So but all for those 4 years it was growing. It was growing its roots. It was deepening its knowledge. I'm now relating this. So people watching out and wanting to take something out of this. It's all about spending time deepening and growing yourself, getting well rooted and grounded in what you find yourself doing today. And gradually maintaining key habits. I believe that success you're looking for will eventually emerge, but you must put in the work. You must put in the work. So I'll just say that stay put. Keep at it, even when it doesn't look like you're getting there, even when it looks like your desired destination is still far off. Embrace solid values. And I believe that at the end of the day, you would see the transformation you desire, basically. So it's all about that. And learn from the bamboo tree. Sometimes all the effort you're putting in to work and all the things you're pursuing may not seem as though they're yielding much, but there's a shift and it's all adding up. If only you'd stay put, stay there till you see it actualize. So what would be my advice?
Sweet. I think that's a very fantastic place to leave it.
Okay.
And I hope for you watching out there, you've picked one or two things from our conversation, and we definitely just wish you, the very best in your endeavors. Try to develop that staying power. Learn from the bamboo tree. Resilience is key. Hard work is key. Dedication is key. Growth is key. Success will come. It's not overnight. But we do wish you the very best. Feel free to like, share, comment on this video, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.